In this video, you're going to learn 5 low-cost ways to put a professionally branded product on the shelf. You've got a product, right? You spent a lot of time and money getting it right. Now you need to get it into stores, but stores don't want your product unless it's professionally packaged. So here are 5 types of packaging that can be created in small quantities, that is, less dinero, and still be economically produced. Couple these with an imaginative mind and a great package design, and you might want to think Catalpha, and these packages can increase the perceived value of your product. But first, take a moment to hit the subscribe button below and comment after you've finished watching. Now let's get to it. Number 1, hang tags. A hang tag does just that. It's a tag that hangs off your product. So the big question here, of course, is a hang tag right for your product? Hang tags usually work for clothing. You see them in the stores all the time. It usually has a brand name on them, or a product that can be touched without issue. A lot of times you don't want customers touching your product because it may make them dirty. But if you do want a customer to touch your product or to try your product and it's not enclosed within a package, a hang tag may be right for you. So how do you attach it? Well, here's an example. Here's a simple kitchen tool, and it's got a tag that is attached to the product with a little nylon rope. So in your case, you're probably going to be doing smaller quantities again. You've got to think about how do you attach it to your product. Is it going to be a little rope like this, or is it going to be a wire, or is it going to be a little plastic rope, which we call swift tack? Those types of things. You need to know how you're going to attach it to your product. And the other thing about hang tags, which is good, is they can be printed in large quantities because they're usually not much bigger than a business card like this. And business cards, as you know, they can be printed full color. They can have foil stamp on them. They can be embossed. You can put gloss or matte on them. They look great, just like any other package. But the big question again is, a hang tag right for your product? Is it the right brand impression that you want to give your product? Hang tags are great. They can be this and that, and they can be other things. Let's try that again. Number 2, header cards. This is a staple of the packaging world. A header card is just what it sounds like. It's a card that's printed, usually folded over. It's got a drilled hole in it, or what we sometimes call a sombrero hole, and it's stapled to a bag, and the bag holds a product. Now this works great if you want people to be able to see your product. Again, it's a low-cost way to do this, to get people to see your product. Sometimes you might want to put them in a box that has a window, but here it's got a plastic bag that you can see through, so you can view your product very well in these. And the header card is the advertising area, the billboard area that we call, that explains to the customer what your product is and what it does. So again, header cards, they can be printed in small quantities. They can look fantastic. They can be done in different sizes. They can be longer and shorter and wider. However you want, they can be done. So this is an option that may work for your product. Again, you just need to think about the brand impression that you're creating by having your product in a package like this. Here's an example of a header card. As you can see, it's a card that was printed 2 sides, folded over, and then stapled to this bag. And here's the product. You can see the product from both sides of the bag. And this is our little billboard area on the header card, which tells about the product and why you might want to buy it. So these work great for products of a certain value. This type of product was probably an under $10 product. So it looks pretty crisp. It also can be peg hooked because it's got the little hole here in the middle. And stores like to peg hook things so they can keep things off the shelf. It keeps order to their store. It enables them to put more products in the store. So header cards are a great option for you if it fits your product. Number 3 is backer cards. A backer card is exactly what it is. It's a card that backs up to your product and it's held on by zip ties or wire. Here is a sample of a backer card. And as you can see, it's just your simple card. It's printed both sides, but it's held on with zip ties. And you can tell the little zip ties are in the back here where it comes together. It could be held on by wires. Pretty easy to package once you've got the backer cards printed and they're sent to you and you've got to do the attaching. Backer cards are like any other printed piece. They can be full color, they can have photos on them. In this case, it's a little more of a brand look than it is a advertisement because it's a pretty straightforward product. Just get the idea across that this cleans bottles. So another good thing about backer cards is that the product is out of a package, so people can touch this. If that's okay, then it's just like a hang tag. If it fits your product, then this could be a good option for you to use. If you have a product that can't be touched, it can't be soiled in any manner, and if it does, then another customer wouldn't want to buy it, then this is not the way to go. But backer cards, they can usually be printed in pretty small quantities. There is sometimes some differences here with die cuts if you try doing some fancy things like this one. I have another sample. Here is another sample of a backer card, much more straightforward. It's got full color front and back, but it's very straightforward in that it's got square edges. The only die cut it has is a sombrero hole. And sometimes, depending on the printer, they may charge you a die charge for creating a sombrero hole, or again, like a little scoop top like the other piece had. So this particular one has, it looks like it's using plastic. So this was probably done by some type of machine to put these on here, but it could have been put on with a wire, like a little wire strip you'd see on a bread wrapper or something like that. So there's many different ways to use a backer card, and they can come all different shapes and sizes too. So again, if it fits your product for the brand impression that you're trying to get across, and in these two cases with these kitchen tools, these products are not especially expensive. So if that fits, great. Number 4, labels. The humble label. Labels are the workhorse of the packaging industry. Now, labels work best where the package is the product. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, here is an example of a labeled product, but the package is a plastic bottle. And the label enhances this, finishes it off, gives it its brand, gives it its message, so that the customer knows what it is that's in that bottle. I mean, you can see a little bit of the product here, but I'm not sure what it is without the label on here. And labels do that for any type of product. So labels can work great because obviously they can be printed in smaller quantities. So if this particular product comes in different flavors, which it did, you can then colorize the label per the different flavor. So you can have a blue one, you could have a green one, you could have a red one, and then use the same basic design across all of them, and it'll look great and give your products a family appearance. Now here's another great label. This again is on a glass package. This is a glass bottle. A lot of times these particular bottles, especially for food products, plastic, glass, are stock items, meaning you can buy them in per case and then fill it with your product and then give it its brand by adding a label to it. So this label works great. It looks great. It's got a metallic finish to a lot of the printing on here, which helps set it off on the shelf. Here's another item where the package is really the product. This is a spice product. It's in a stock container. Now, stock containers, they can be bought by the case, but also your competitors could be buying the same type of container. Now, the difference is that you're putting your label on it to give it its brand look. So you want your labels to help it stand out on the aisle. And then you can see from this picture that I took of the rest of these products that are on the shelf that they do just that. They do stand out because they colorize their labels per the different types of seasoning that they came in, that they offered. So you can do that economically too, because these labels are, number one, they're small. Number two, labels usually can be printed fairly inexpensively, and you're more than likely doing your own labeling yourself. So you're the one that's going to be filling the containers. You're the one that's going to be adding the label to the product, and you're probably not going to get a second party involved in the actual labeling process or filling process until you're doing hundreds and thousands of this product for stores. So labels can be used for many different products, as I mentioned. Here's another little tiny label, but still label nonetheless. It can be used, this particular one was used as a CBD product. It's done with a metallic kind of a stock behind it to help give it some pizzazz while it's on the shelf, because it's such a small product, it needs to stand out in some way. So labels, they can be used on not only these food products or CBD products or things that are in a bottle, but you could use them on a box. If your product comes in a box and you just want to enhance it with maybe a larger label, great. I've seen many large products in stores that more or less just have one big label on the outside. So you don't have to print the entire box. You could just print the front cover, so to speak, with the label. So labels are a great economical way to package your product. The big question, or the big something, what the hell is it? The big something. Number 5, stock clamshell packaging. Now, a lot of times clients want to get their product into a plastic package. That's just really not possible to do in small quantities unless you're doing a stock clamshell package. Now, stock clamshells are pre-made clamshells. First, what's a clamshell? Well, this is a clamshell. It is a plastic item that is hinged on the bottom, hence the clamshell effect. And they come in a variety of different sizes and styles. Some come with circles, some come with the full cavity in the middle, some come with pieces on the edges. Now, there's not one for every different type of size out there, but you may find one that fits your product, that is. So the thing that's needed here is going to be some type of an insert that is the billboard space for your product, so it tells what your product is and what it can do for that particular customer. Also, it may hold the product in place. So you don't want to put a product in here and have it lay down on the bottom and then roll around on the bottom. That just would not look professional. Here's a sample that we did for a product for a pet store. And you can see the product is held up in place within this clamshell. This is a stock clamshell, and it's got a printed insert within it that holds the product in place and tells about the product itself. So it sells the product and holds it at the same time. Here's another similar product that does the same type of thing. So you can see it's bigger than the product, or so the clamshell is bigger than the product, but it's holding the product in place, and it's advertising this product and what it can do for that particular customer. So it doesn't always work for every type of product. Now here's something that's a little bit different. These are accessories for a gun manufacturer of some sort, gun belts and things of that sort. And lots of little parts and pieces in here. But this works pretty good. We're able to create a branded look on this insert. And the items themselves are held within the cavity area of this particular stock clamshell. So this could be done in smaller quantities, meaning a couple hundred pieces. So only thing that's getting printed is that item that's in there, and it needs to be printed full color. Could be printed full color on both sides, I think. Yes, this one was, but it was also die cut. So that is possibly an added expense for this type of thing. But stock clamshells are a great way to professionally present your product if it needs to be in plastic. So that is the fifth of these 5 different types of economical packaging. Now, I've just told you about 5 different ways you could economically package your product, but I've got one more that I want to show you. And when I originally wrote this post 3 or 4 years back, this wasn't necessarily an option. Now things have changed, because what I'm talking about is digitally printing little cartons like this. Now, a number of years back, printers were getting up to speed, being able to do packages like this. Part of the reason is digital printing. It's come a long way quickly. But another reason is the die line and the die cutting that needs to take place when you have a package like this, because this has to be die cut, has to be glued, and if a printer can do that in-house, they can keep the cost down. Now, that has come a long way, so I'm adding this as the 6th version for economically printing a package for you. And these can usually be done in quantities of, say, a couple of hundred up to 500. Of course, you get up above that, and they certainly can be done economically too, but the point is that they can now do these smaller quantities economically, and that it will be a big plus if your package, if your product doesn't fit in any of these other type of packages that I mentioned earlier. So I hope you found all of this information useful. If you have any questions or you want to make a comment, use the comment box below and I'll be happy to get back to you. Take a moment to hit the subscribe button and leave us a comment after you've finished watching.